Hello, welcome to Packing It. In this video, I'm going to go over the gear that I'm carrying on my Alaska to Argentina ride. I just finished up the Great Divide mountain biking route, and now I'm in Phoenix for a couple of weeks, getting my bike worked on and preparing to head to the Baja Peninsula where I will attempt the Baja Divide. Most of my experience in camping comes from backpacking, where being lightweight and minimalist is essential. When I started cycle touring, I took a similar approach, but I don't worry quite so much about weight. After all, like I always say, when you're hiking, you have to carry all your gear, but when you're biking, your gear carries you. For my bag setup, I decided to use a pannier system instead of traditional bikepacking bags. I'm just used to panniers, and I find them a lot simpler and easier to access, even though they do flop around a bit when going over bumps. I originally planned on having front panniers too, but to be honest, I don't think I have enough stuff to fill them. The fork I got allowed me to use cargo cages instead, so this is the setup I ended up with. My panniers are Ortlieb Classics. I've been using this pair for about 10 years, making them my oldest piece of gear, and it's definitely starting to show. I'm planning on taking a new pair to Mexico. My sleep system is carried on my fork and handlebars in 3 bags. My sleeping bag and pad are both in Sea to Summit big river bags, which are perfect. They're fully waterproof and durable enough to be attached to the bike itself. My tent is in a Sea to Summit Ultrasil bag because I couldn't find another big river bag when my old tent bag ripped open. It already has a hole in it, and I'm probably going to have to replace it soon again. My pad is a Big Agnes Q-Core. It's my first inflatable pad, and it's so much more comfortable than the foam pad I'd been using up until now. It's only gotten 1 leak so far, and I was able to patch it without too much trouble. Also in the bag, I carry the inflation sack and a pillow. My tent is a Passage 1 from REI. I wanted something simple and fast to set up. In the past, I've used the Big Agnes Fly Creek, but after a while the zippers and poles started to wear out. I'm hoping that a non-ultralight tent will last a bit longer while only being a little heavier and a lot cheaper. My sleeping bag is a Mountain Hardwear Ratio 15, which worked great on the PCT and has performed well on the ride so far. Also in the sleeping bag, I keep a pair of fleece pajama pants and a Sea to Summit sleeping bag liner. This can help the sleeping bag stay clean, and when it's too hot, I can use it without the sleeping bag. For cooking, I use an MSR Whisperlite International because it can run on gasoline, which is much easier to find than gas canisters. I carry gasoline in this 300 milliliter bottle. A full bottle lasts a little over a week for me. My pot is an MSR Seagull, which is just big enough to cook 1 Knorr packet, which is what I have for dinner each night. My utensil is an eating tool. No further explanation needed. One of the reasons I wanted to use panniers is so that I could carry my bear can. This is a bear-proof container that I use to store my food overnight away from my tent. It's a bit bulky, but it seemed easier to me than trying to hang my food every night. Now that I'm out of bear country, I'll be leaving it behind to make room for more water capacity. This is the bear spray I've carried since Alaska. It goes in this nifty holster so that it's always within arm's reach while I'm riding. Now that I'm out of bear country, I'm leaving it behind as well. For water, I have 2 bottles on my fork. One is a normal water bottle, and the other used to be a Gatorade bottle. I like this style of bottle because it can be opened one-handed. It's light, it's cheap, and as an added bonus, when you buy it, it comes with free Gatorade. I also carry 2 1-liter Nalgene bottles, and when I got to New Mexico, I added 2 more 1-liter bottles. Now that I'm headed to Mexico, I'm adding this MSR Dromedary that I got for free at a gear swap. My water filter is a Sawyer Squeeze. This is the filter that I've used on all my camping trips, and it's always worked great. For toiletries, I have this bag, with my toothbrush, toothpaste, floss, and nail clippers. For my poop kit, I use this The Deuce No. 2, as well as a roll of toilet paper and a small bottle of hand sanitizer. I also carry a small first aid kit. Now that I'm headed to Mexico, I also picked up this diarrhea kit. I carry my clothing in this Alps Mountaineering dry bag. It sits on my rack and is secured with bungee cords. I like using bungee cords here because I can shove things under them, like my rain gear, for quick access later. I organize my clothes by putting them in plastic Ziploc bags. My pants are REI Sahara zip-off pants. I've always liked convertible pants. They're light, they're airy, and they have convenient cargo pockets. My underwear is ex officio travel underwear, and my socks are mostly just a bunch of random cotton socks. My t-shirts are honestly just a bunch of random shirts I grabbed out of my dresser. I should probably have put more thoughts into them. Black shirts aren't ideal for reflecting sunlight, and this one is starting to get holes. I also got a sun hoodie from REI. Sun hoodies offer probably the best sun protection while also being breathable. I should probably wear it more often, but I don't like the way it feels, so I usually just risk cancer instead. My favorite piece of clothing is this fleece jacket. It keeps me warm at camp, but isn't too hot to wear while riding when it's chilly. Unfortunately, it's starting to fall apart, but I'll probably keep using it until I can find a good replacement. My warmest layer is this puffy jacket. It's been more than enough for all of the conditions I faced in Alaska and Canada during the summer. I haven't really used it since then, but it's small and light enough that I don't mind carrying it through the desert and tropics, just so that I'll have it when I need it. I also carry 2 hats, a warm hat and a sun hat. My rain jacket is an outdoor research essential. I've been pretty happy with it. It keeps me protected from the rain and wind well enough. I just wish it had pit zips. For rain pants, I use this pair from Columbia Sportswear. My shoes are just a random pair of North Face shoes I found at REI. They were comfortable and cheap, so I got them. Also in my clothing bag, I carry this high-vis vest that I have yet to put on, a camp towel, a pair of swim trunks, and a pair of sandals, which I used once when my shoes were wet. I always keep a head net with me. I haven't needed it since Alaska, but I feel much more comfortable going out into nature, knowing I have this to protect me from humanity's most deadly predator. My editing computer is a Lenovo ThinkPad P52. It's definitely on the larger side of laptops, but I wanted something sturdy and powerful without being too expensive. I edit on the Adobe suite just because that's what I'm used to. To keep my computer safe, I put it in this plastic bag and then into this Domiso case I got from Amazon. Along with the laptop, I have to carry its power block. I also carry a compact mouse to make editing easier, and a Samsung Go mic to record voiceovers, like this one right now. I have 2 hard drives, a 2TB rugged drive, and a 1TB solid-state drive. In this bag, I keep all the cables and charging blocks that I need. My power bank is this 20,000 milliamp hours Pocket Juice bank, which is enough to charge my phone several times. To track my ride, and as an emergency beacon, I carry a Garmin InReach Mini 2. It also allows me to send text messages without cell service. Most of my footage is shot on this GoPro 9 Black, which I'm pretty happy with, especially the shake reduction. It normally lives on my handlebars where it records smooth shots on even the bumpiest roads. The other camera I have is a Sony RX100, which I mainly use for tripod shots. It's great because it records really high quality video while also being small enough to fit in my pocket. It lives in this pouch, which attaches to my top tube, so that it's always close at hand when I see something I want to shoot. Sometimes I also record on my phone, which is a Galaxy A32. It was cheap, has a good battery life, and the big screen makes reading maps easier. The tripod I use is this random tripod I found at Goodwill. It's pretty compact and it extends well, but it's also very wobbly. I'm on the lookout for a replacement. This thing is my GoPro mount. It's called a small rig, and it normally just clamps onto my handlebars, but it can also attach to trees, signs, and other objects in lieu of a tripod. I also use a selfie stick to try to get different angles for my GoPro. My headlight is a basic Petzl headlamp powered by AAA's. Under my seat, I carry this pack, which holds a couple of tools I like to have easy access to. My hex wrench multi-tool from Crank Brothers, and this Leatherman Rev. I keep all my spares and tools for bicycle and gear maintenance in 2 bags. I probably carry more than I need, but I figure that's better than not having enough. One contains things I use frequently, the other holds things I hope I never have to use. This one's got zip ties, 2 sizes, chain lube, my Sawyer Squeeze cleaning plunger, Tri-Flow bike lube for my components, my patch kit, which contains a couple heavy-duty tire levers, a whole lot of patches, and glue. Some Dr. Bronner soap, which I use to find holes in my tubes, and to help seat my tires. Some Proof Hide for my brick seat, some extra AAA batteries, and both Gorilla Tape and electrical tape. In my other bag, I have a spare tube, a patch kit for my sleeping pad, a few spare brake pads, probably more than I need, but someone gave them to me for free and I figured I would need them eventually, extra parts for my dynamo hub, a maintenance kit for my stove, an emergency tire boot, a fiber fix spoke replacement kit that uses a Kevlar cord to replace a spoke. Useful when the broken spoke is on the rear wheel drive side, which it always is, a tent repair kit, some extra handlebar tape, another spare tube. I always carry 2 spare tubes. That way, if I have to use one, I won't be left without a spare, so I always keep a spare for my spare. Assorted nuts and bolts, an extra chain, a tent pole repair splint, more brake pads, a chain whip, a crank puller, a bottom bracket tool and a cassette tool, and an adjustable wrench. A cassette toothbrush. I really wished I had one of these in that mud pit back in episode 4. A tiny screwdriver, whose only job is to drive these tiny little screws in my GoPro mount. Some thread locker, extra cables and housing for both shifters and brakes, a random hex wrench. This one is not a random hex wrench, it's an 8mm wrench that I need to remove my kickstand. And a couple of spare spokes, one for the front and one for the rear. I also still carry that extra tire that German family gave me back in episode 3. I have a bit of cord, you never know what you'll need it for, and a spare set of glasses. My frame bag is an Ortlieb bag I got from a friend. Unfortunately, after only a few weeks on the road, the zipper broke. This turned out to be fine though. I only keep 4 things in my frame bag: my tent poles, my selfie stick, my tripod, and my bike lock. These items are large and heavy enough that they never bounce out, and not having a zipper makes it easier to get out my tripod and selfie stick without having to dismount. This top tube bag from Topek is my charging station, but the top tube is too short for it to fit comfortably, so I just attached it vertically to my head tube. Inside is a USB charger from Sine Wave Revolution that plugs into my dynamo hub. They say it can charge phones, but I've only found success charging my power bank and using that to charge my devices. On my stem, I carry 2 feed bags. I could probably make better use of them, but for now, I use one to carry my phone and the other to carry my headlight and seat cover.
My bike lock is a kryptonite cable lock. Not as strong as a U-lock, but much more flexible. As I was working on this video, I stopped by REI to get a few things. A pair of Masterlink pliers, a new pump, and a new tent bag. I also got replacement panniers.
So there you go. It's not the best gear in the world, but you don't need the best gear in the world for cycle touring. If you're thinking about going on a trip like this, using what you have and what you're comfortable with will probably be good enough. Over the course of a long journey, gear will break down and get lost and need to get repaired and replaced. I tried not to get too attached to anything. After all, it's just stuff. Well, that's it. That's all I've got. Thank you so much for watching, and a big thank you to my supporters on Patreon, and especially my Crank Tier supporters, Tevin Dubois, Judy Friesem, Dan Phillips, and Gran Bear Mickle. If you would like to support the channel, please remember to hit the like and subscribe buttons, and leave a comment below. Or you can join the Patreon. For just $5 a month, you get early access to videos, as well as an interactive map tracking my route so far. If that sounds good to you, the link is in the description. And as always, keep on cranking.